Hello, dear students. Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Jasim Ahmed from Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, a central university by an act of parliament situated at New Delhi. Today, we are going to discuss the topics on psychology of learning and development, motivation, its meaning and importance. Let us begin with some pertinent questions in the area. Number 1, why do some students focus on their homework and others watch television? Number 2, why do some learners start their homework right away while others start late and a few never complete the assignment in time? Number 3, will a student read the entire book or just a few pages? Number 4, what the participants are thinking and feeling while engaged in the activity? And number 5, what causes a person to continue or to give up? The answer to all these questions lie in one of the most important psychological variable of personality. Friends, in this session, we are going to discuss the variable which is one of the most important factor of getting success in all walks of life, be it academics, profession, career, business, politics, diplomacy, startups, or whatever you want to do in your life. No matter it is a short-term planning or a long-term planning, you might be thinking what I am talking about. Yes, I am talking about the key to all success, that is motivation. In this lesson, my focus will be on introduction to motivation, definitions of motivation, main ingredients of motivation, motivation cycle, types of motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, importance of motivation, and what is learning. After the completion of this presentation, you will be in a position to define motivation, describe motivation in your own words, enumerate various ingredients of motivation, name different types of motivation, differentiate between intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, discuss cycle of motivation, put light on the importance of motivation, and finally, you will be interested to motivate yourself for certain achievements of your own and will also be interested to motivate others. Let us first try to understand the concept and meaning of motivation. Anything which moves you, prepares you, makes you ready to do some task is a motivator for you. You are motivated and the whole process is motivation. Whatever activities we do in our day-to-day life, all are associated with some kind of motivation. Without motivation, we cannot do anything in our life. Motivation is required for all our life activities to initiate, to continue, and to accomplish all tasks. For example, for drinking water, for eating, for reading, for making a call, for providing social services, for respecting elders, and for all other activities, we need motivation to do so with interest and enjoyment. Some may be psychological, some may be biological, and some may be biopsychological in nature. Motivation is a general psychological concept which is used to explain behavior initiated by needs and directed towards a goal. The term motivation is derived from a French word mouvoir, which means to move, to stir, to prompt. Let us see some definitions of motivation. These definitions will make us understand the concept of motivation. According to H.W. Bernard, motivation refers to all those phenomena which are involved in the stimulation of action towards particular objectives, where previously there was little or no movement towards these goals. Here in this definition, phenomena and stimulation are two key terms. Phenomena means a natural act or process, and stimulation means movement towards something or some activity or some achievement. According to Atkinson, the term motivation refers to the arousal of tendency to act to produce one or more effects. In this definition, the key term is arousal of tendency, which is equivalent to stimulation, that is, to get ready to act upon, to be ready to do task. According to Lowell, motivation is defined more formally as the psychological or internal process initiated by some needs which lead to activities which will satisfy those needs. The key concept in Lowell's definition is need. Every individual has different kinds of needs to accomplish or to achieve or to fulfill some desires, which may be of normal nature or instant nature, short term or long term, for self or for family or society or nation or for humanity. Depending on the intensity of our needs, we develop our motivation to accomplish those needs. According to C.V. Good, motivation is the process of arousing, sustaining and regulating activities. See, here in this definition, there are three key concepts: arousal of motivation, sustaining the behavior and regulating the behavior or activity. For example, a child studying in class 9th desires to become a doctor. This means that the child's behavior is already aroused to become a doctor. Now, the challenge is to sustain this aroused behavior of the child. This task can be done by himself and with the help of family members and teachers. The sustaining behavior is reflected in the study patterns and attitude of the child. It is also observed in his marks in science in general and biology in particular. This reflects that the child is sustaining the motivation of becoming a doctor. He completes the class 10th, 12th with biology and plans to medical coaching. Sometimes it may happen at certain stage that the child is slowed down in the pace of study or become very fast in his achievement behavior and loses his night sleep in the stress of preparation. At this juncture, he needs to control or regulate his motivation of becoming a doctor. In this process, teachers and parents' roles are crucial. Hence, we see that arousal, sustaining and regulating are three most important aspects of motivation. If any of these three is missing, motivation is not complete and it may create obstacle in the successful achievement of the set aims. Arousal, sustaining and regulating, all these three aspects are main ingredients of motivation. If any one of them is lost, the motivation is not complete and the aimed achievement will suffer. Considering all these definitions, we find that motivation is instrumental to all success in our life. Now, look at this flow chart, the motivation cycle. Here you can see that in this cycle, 5 numbers are there from number 1 to number 5 in a cyclic manner. You can understand yourself that needs are the most basic things for each and every individual. All living creatures, all human beings and all living creatures have their needs. You all have their own needs. All teachers have their needs. All students have their own needs. All human beings have their own needs. No human being can be existing in this world without having any need or any kind of wants. These needs and wants create some kind of drive in all of us. Suppose if I am hungry, then my need is to have food. So, being hungry creates the needs of getting food. To get the food, a drive is created in our mind, that is a mental state to get something done. If I am thirsty, I will have a drive to take water to quench my thirst. So, when needs are felt or wants are felt, it creates a drive, and drive puts individual into action in the form of response. And because of these responses or because of these actions to fulfill those needs, people work very hard to accomplish those needs, to fulfill their desires, to fulfill their needs. And at the end, there can be only two situations. Either the needs will be satisfied or people can fail and become dissatisfaction, can become dissatisfied. In these two situations, what can happen? Now, it depends upon the individual personality, whether he is ready to compromise with the need or whether he is ready to continue with the same need. If he compromises with the need, then the need structure is changed. Now, he can compromise, let us leave this need and to have some other need. And if the needs are satisfied, then as per the economics, needs have no ends. So, if one need is fulfilled, another need comes in your way and the whole process of motivation cycle goes on in our life. Let us emphasize 4 very important concepts which have been discussed in the motivation cycle. Need, these are necessary for life. These may be physiological or biological in nature, may be social, may be emotional, etc. It may be pressing, it may be urgent, it may be immediate and may be intermediate in nature. Whereas wants, not need per se, Wants are not need per se, but our desires like big house, big car, going on world trip. These are desires which are not necessary for life, but we can have those desires. Whether it is need or it is a want, it may create some kind of drive depending upon the need felt by you or the wants felt by you. As per the theory given by Clark Hull, drive reduction theory, this theory goes on in everyone's life. Where the need is created or wants are created, it creates drive, drive put you in action, and because of action your drive, need are fulfilled and drives are reduced. And this process of creation of need, creation of drive, fulfilling of need and reduction of drive goes on, and this is called as drive reduction theory by Clark Hull. Let us see the types of motivation. Number 1, intrinsic motivation. Biological needs or biological motivations are intrinsic in nature, like food, water, sleep, rest, etc. These are biological in nature. These all are intrinsic motivation. Psychological, all intrinsic motivation are psychological in nature, or you can say that psychological needs are basically intrinsic motivation, like appreciation, praise, reward, affection, etc. So, intrinsic motivation are basically innate in nature. They are natural, that is produced from within the individual. It is not from outside. Hence, we can say that the causal factor of intrinsic motivation are inside or within the individual. Other one is extrinsic motivation, the motivation in which we do something to gain something else. So, these are artificial in nature. If I am doing this presentation because of some other things, not for the sake of presentation. If a teacher is teaching in the classroom for something else, say for salary, not for educating the child, so the motivation will be extrinsic in nature. So, the causal factor of extrinsic motivation is outside the individual. Another example, a child is doing homework so that her mother allows him to watch cartoon on television. Hence, the child is motivated to watch cartoon and not in doing the homework. His intrinsic motivation of watching cartoon is being used to get the homework completed. So, the motivation of doing homework is artificial because the causal factor is from outside. We should remember that children can be extremely motivated towards some goals by fulfilling their immediate desires. In course of time, these external motivation are converted into internal motivation. Continuous doing of certain tasks may develop interest and habit in that area, provided that these tasks are well managed, guided and made child friendly. In course of time, extrinsic motivation for certain things get converted into intrinsic ones. For example, watching games, maybe sometime I am watching a game randomly because of the friends are watching the game, but in course of time when we see the same game regularly, I become associated with the game and I become motivated to watch that game, and after that we used to watch that game regularly. Here in this graph you can see the locus of causality of motivation. This is a straight line having two ends, left and right. There is a central point which is black in nature. This central point which is black showed that the center of motivation is between intrinsic and extrinsic. So, when motivation is from within the individual, that is at the left, it is totally intrinsic. When it goes outside the individual, it becomes extrinsic in nature. Now, we will discuss the importance of motivation. As we have discussed throughout the last slides, there are lots of importance of motivation, but here are some important points. It encourages the behavior towards something. So, if I am motivated, if you are motivated for some particular reason to achieve something, you will be encouraged to do that activity, you will be encouraged to achieve that goal, you will be encouraged to accomplish those tasks. So, motivation keeps you encouraged to do certain or a specific job. It sustains the behavior on the task. If somebody is motivated, it helps the individual to sustain on the job, sustain on the task. It directs the behavior in a particular direction. If I am motivated and I am clear what I want to achieve, then this motivation will help me and give me proper direction in what direction I have to go, whether the direction is right or wrong. Then regulate or control the behavior. Motivation also helps in regulating or controlling the behavior for the accomplishment of aims for which we are working. Motivation keeps us focused. If I am motivated for a particular aim to achieve, we will be focused on achieving those aims. Motivation helps in guided study. If I am motivated to become a doctor, to become an engineer, to become a teacher, to become a footballer, or to become a cricketer, so our study, our intention, our efforts will be guided to achieve those goals. Motivation also make you goal oriented. So your eyes is always on certain goal which you have to achieve, and this concentration to achieve those goals are prepared or set by your motivation. If you are highly motivated, you will be highly goal oriented. If you have low motivation, you will be low in achieving those goals. Motivation also helps you to be systematic and organized. The more you are motivated, the more you will be systematic and organized in your task, in your assignment, in your activities. Motivation will help you to be systematic and organized. Otherwise, you can say if you are systematic and organized, it means you are motivated to attain certain specification in doing some task. Motivation encourages self-evaluation. If I am motivated to achieve some goal, I will be anxious whether I am on the right path or not. So I will be assessing myself every time, every day, every moment, whether I am on the right path or not. This evaluation is a self-evaluation. So motivation, because of motivation, this self-evaluation is being done by me. So it encourages self-evaluation to assess whether you are on the right path or not, whether your progress is satisfactory or not. Until now, we have discussed the concept, meaning, definitions, and importance of motivation. Now we will see what is learning and how motivation helps in the learning process. Let us see what is learning. Learning is a very common concept. We use it in our daily language. But in the field of educational psychology, it has some specific meaning which must be understood by all of us, especially by teachers or who want to join the profession or service of teaching. There is no any universally accepted definition of learning. Different psychologists have defined learning in different ways. We will discuss some important and popular definitions of learning which will clarify our concept of learning. According to Skinner, learning is a process of progressive behavior adaptation. Here in this definition given by Skinner, you can see he is talking about progressive behavior adaptation. When the child is born, his habits are formed and the habit formation goes on slowly and slowly. The child learns to speak some word, some sentence, and in the process the child progressively go on and develop his habits, attitudes, and values, and all kinds of norms of the society, of the family, and this whole process which is progressive in nature is basically learning. According to Woodworth, the process of acquiring new knowledge and new responses is the process of learning. So it is the process of acquisition or acquiring new knowledge. Whatever knowledge we acquire in our daily life from our birth until death, all are learning. Whether we learn some Hindi or English or Urdu or mathematics, we learn how to speak, how to walk, how to sing, how to do daily life activities, how to meet peoples, how to respond to some questions, how to respond to some queries. So whatever we learn in our daily life from birth till death, all are learning. According to Crow and Crow, learning is the acquisition of habits, knowledge, and attitude. So whatever children learn, whatever habits are developed in the children, whatever knowledge children acquire in the school, in the family, from the parents, from the siblings, from the society, from the community, whatever attitudes are developed among the children through different sources, in a formal way or informal way, in the school setup or a family setup or a society setup, or because of the neighbors or because of the friends and relationship, these all are basically the process of learning. According to Gates and others, learning is the modification of behavior through experience and training. Here very heavy words are being used in this definition. It is the modification of behavior. Now the question is, what is behavior? Behavior is a very crucial term in educational psychology. What is behavior? In a normal way, we can say that the way we interact with the society, with the community, the way we respond to the environment is basically behavior. In another way, we can say that behavior is nothing but the way of life, how we spend our lives, how we eat, how we drink, how we sleep, how we interact with the people, how we celebrate the festival or other events. These all reflect your behavior. In the language of biology and psychology, behavior is something complex. Each and every living organism receives some stimulus from the environment, and because of this stimulus, the living organism responds to the environment. If something comes in front of my eyes are blinked. This blinking of eyes or closing of eyes is basically a response to the stimulus, that is the coming of some object in front of the eyes. For another example, if somebody is there on the door, he rings the bell, we listen the bell inside the home, we go on the door and open the door to welcome the guest. So, ringing of bell is a stimulus which is listened by the residents, and opening of door is response. So, this stimulus or response relationship is basically behavior, how we respond to a particular stimulus. For the same stimulus, there may be a variety of responses. If a bell is ring, a child can come at the door and welcome the guest, please come in, have your seat, take this cold water to drink. Another way, another child may be opening the door on the ringing of bell and put the question, who are you, why you have come here. So, for the same stimulus, there may be a variety of responses, and this relationship, and a very complex relationship between a stimulus and response, is basically behavior. In our life, from birth to death, this behavior is continuously modified and refined. So, this modification of behavior through experience and training is the process of learning, as stated by Gates and others. According to Cronbach, learning is shown by a change in behavior as a result of experience. Here, experience is given very focal point in this definition. Whatever we learn in our whole life, whatever behavior we develop, whatever behavior we change since my birth till date, these all are because of our experiences. We get experience from different sources. We can have experience while traveling on the bus, we can have experience while traveling in the plane, we can have experience while going on the road, we can have experience while playing in the field, we can have experience in a birthday party, we can have experience on a field trip, we can have experience in the formal classroom being taken by a teacher. So, we can have variety of experiences day and night from birth to death, and each and every stage of our growth and development, each and every bit of experience develop our behavior, modify our behavior, and all these changes are basically learning for all of us. According to Malvin H. Marks, learning is a relatively enduring change in behavior which is function of prior behavior, usually called practice. Here in this definition, Marx is talking about relatively enduring change. He is pointing that not only change, but the change should be enduring in nature, that is those changes which are relatively permanent in nature. If some child cram some definition for a particular examination, like India got independence in 1947, he crams for the purpose of examination, and after the examination is over, the child forgot this date, that is the significance or importance of 1947 in the history of India. So, if he forget this particular date, he forget the significance of this date or this year, it means the child's learning is not enduring or not relatively permanent, and this modification of behavior, which is temporary in nature, is not learning. So, learning should be relatively permanent in nature, it should be enduring in nature, and all these changes are because of the practice or experience which every one of us goes in our daily life. There are many theories of learning which are not the subject matter of presentation at this moment. For all these changes, modifications, all kinds of learning, the basic requirement is motivation to learn by the learners, without which learning cannot take place. It is also reflected in the E.L. Thorndike's first primary laws of learning, that is the law of readiness. Unless the children are ready to learn, motivated to learn, they cannot learn. If the child is not ready to learn, they cannot learn. Therefore, Thorndike talks that before starting the teaching learning process in the classroom, they should be well prepared for learning. They should be made ready for learning. They should be interested to learn. Only then they can learn. So, the primary task of the teacher in the beginning 4 to 5 minutes of the classroom is to make the whole class ready to learn. Only then they can learn. In a nutshell, we can summarize that human beings are several challenges. Human beings face several challenges and different needs. Some of these needs are biological and some are social and emotional. No matter what kind of need is arising, all arise to get them fulfilled. Needs are converted into drives, which create tension in the individual and lead to the action or response. Ultimately, needs are either satisfied or compromised. This process goes on throughout the life of the individual. Motivation is the most basic and fundamental requirement to do any task or achieve anything in our life. Without motivation, we cannot put our efforts to accomplish any goal in our lives. The essentiality of motivation for action demands parents and teachers' positive role in creating required level of motivation among the children and learners to put them on right path of achievement. This is all for today. In the next presentation, we will discuss on various theories of motivation and its big bearing on learning and instruction. Thank you so much.